This tutorial will show you how to install a GeoNet wireless data hosting system. Topics covered in this tutorial include initial setup, power-up, device mounting and network considerations, and connecting sensors to nodes. The times shown in parentheses can be used to locate a specific topic within the tutorial. Before beginning the installation, it's important to know some of the terms associated with GeoNet networks. A network is a collection of GeoNet devices communicating with each other using radio signals. A network must contain at least one node and one supervisor. Agent software is required to configure the network and view the data. A node collects data from external sensors, such as a piezometer or a strain gauge, as well as from sensors located inside the node, which monitor battery level, signal strength, node temperature, and more. Nodes forward the data they collect to the supervisor. If a node cannot communicate directly with the supervisor, other nodes will relay the data to the supervisor as necessary. The supervisor controls the network. It sets the network time, changes the operating mode of the network, and is the central collection point of all the data gathered by the network. Supervisors have the same internal sensors as nodes, but they cannot collect data from external sensors. GEOKON's agent software program is used to configure the network, as well as to collect and display data. The data can be viewed in Agent as a chart, or it may be exported for use in other data management applications. Visit geokon.com/software to download Agent. All GeoNet devices have a set of red and green LED indicators, which are used to indicate the status of the device. There is a key printed below the lights, which explains what each of the light codes mean. Pressing the status button will cause the LED indicators to briefly display the status of the device. The status button is also used to start or reset deployment mode on the supervisor. The supervisor must be in deployment mode whenever changes are being made to the network, such as adding nodes, changing batteries, or resetting a device. While deployment mode is active, the LEDs on the supervisor will flash every 10 to 15 seconds. Supervisors automatically enter deployment mode after being powered up. By default, deployment mode will stay active for 60 minutes at a time. This can be changed using Agent software. To reactivate deployment mode or reset the 60-minute timer, press the status button on the supervisor. It may take up to 6 minutes for this change to take effect, depending on the radio cycles, as well as the network size and configuration. There are a few essential items which are required to install a GeoNet network. GeoKon provides most of these items as accessories when the hardware is purchased, including a Phillips head screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver, an antenna for each device, 2 D-cell batteries for each device, desiccant packs, a mini to standard USB cable, and a USB to RS-232 adapter. There are only a few items required, which are not included with the purchase of a GeoNet system. These items include hardware to mount the devices, such as screws, U-bolts, hose clamps, etc. You will also need materials to create a suitable earth ground for each device. GeoKon recommends a 6-foot copper rod and 12 AUG or larger copper wire, both of which can be purchased from GeoKon. When using a supervisor without cellular capabilities, a portable PC with Agent software installed is required on-site during the installation process. GeoNet networks have been designed to be easy to install and operate. However, there are a few things that can be done to expedite the initial setup. Make sure to perform the installation in the designated order. Skipping steps or performing them out of order could complicate the installation of the network. When setting up a network for the first time, gather all the network components together in one area. This will allow the devices to quickly connect to one another and make it easy to see the LED indicators of the devices while they are connecting to the network. Make sure all the devices have successfully joined the network before moving them to their final locations. This ensures that the network is set up correctly and that all the devices are able to talk to each other before they are dispersed to their various installation locations. To begin the installation, attach an antenna to each device by removing the rubber cap from the antenna mount, positioning the antenna on the mount, and then rotating it in a clockwise direction until it is finger tight. Take care not to cross-thread the antennas, especially on cellular gateway supervisors, which have a rubber O-ring seal that must sit flush against the enclosure. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, loosen the cover screws by turning them counterclockwise. Remove the covers from all the devices. All GeoNet devices are set to the same channel before leaving the factory. This allows a network to be easily established without needing to change the channels. However, if more than one network will be operating in the same area, then each network must be operating on a different channel. Up to 12 networks can operate in the same area by utilizing a different channel for each network. To set the channel on a device, set the switches located just below the battery holder to one of the 12 positions shown. The channels on GeoNet devices can be thought of in a similar manner to those on a walkie-talkie. GeoNet devices can only talk to one another when they are on the same channel. Therefore, all the devices in a network must be set to the same channel. Always power the supervisor before powering any nodes. This allows the nodes to quickly and easily join the network when they are powered on. To power a cellular gateway supervisor, plug the provided AC adapter or other external power supply into the power jack on the exterior of the enclosure. Next, move the power switch to the correct position based on the information shown. Please note that cellular gateway supervisors must have an external power source. GEOKON can provide solar panels and other power supplies as needed. Contact us for more information. To install the batteries in a supervisor that does not have cellular capability, align the positive side of the D-cell batteries with the left side of the battery holder. Push the battery straight down into the holder. Next, move the battery selector switch to alkaline or lithium, depending on the type of batteries that have been installed. Once the supervisor has power, the green LED on the side of the unit will flash twice. Please note that this may take several seconds to occur. The LED indicators on the supervisor will not flash again until at least one node has joined the network or the status button is pressed. Insert the supply disc impacts into the enclosure. Before installing the cover, make sure the gasket on the underside of the cover and the mating ridge on the enclosure are clean and that the gasket is properly seated inside the groove. When placing the cover on the unit, make sure that the orientation is correct. Then tighten the cover screws a little at a time, working in a diagonal pattern. Make sure the cover closes tightly and evenly. If a supervisor without cellular capability is being used, the network time must be set using agent software. This is not required for cellular gateway supervisors. They will automatically download the current date and time over the cellular network. Please note that no data will be collected until the network time has been set. Start by connecting the supervisor to a computer using the factory supplied USB cable. For RS-232 connections, connect the supplied adapter to the USB cable. Once the connection has been made, set the network time using agent software. For more information on using the agent program, watch the agent tutorial or refer to the agent instruction manual. Before moving on, verify that the network time has been set by pressing the status button on the supervisor. The red and green LEDs should flash, indicating that the network time has been set, but no nodes have joined the network. If only the red LED flashes, then the network time has not been set. For cellular gateway supervisors, this means that the supervisor has not yet connected to the cellular network. Wait a few minutes and then try again. For supervisors without cellular capability, the network time still needs to be set using agent software, as described in the previous slide. Make sure to record the serial number of the supervisor. It is required to commission cellular gateway supervisors and is used by agent to differentiate networks. To expedite the network setup process, nodes should be powered in close proximity to the supervisor. To power a node, align the positive side of the D-cell batteries with the left side of the battery holder. Push the battery straight down into the holder. Then move the battery selector switch to alkaline or lithium, depending on the type of batteries that have been installed. Once the node has power, the green LED on the side of the unit will flash twice. Please note that this may take several seconds to occur. While the supervisor is in deployment mode, the node will join the network approximately 30 seconds after power-up. Once the node has successfully joined the network, the LED indicators on the supervisor and the node will begin flashing in unison. Verify that the LED indicators on the node and supervisor are flashing green only before continuing the installation. The default time deployment mode stays active is 1 hour. Each time a new node joins the network, the timer will reset, extending the deploy period for another hour. If more than 1 hour is needed to install each node, the deployment mode timer can be changed using agent software. To reactivate deployment mode or reset the 60-minute timer, press the status button on the supervisor. As previously mentioned, this can take up to 6 minutes, depending on the network size and configuration. If a node does not join the network within 30 seconds of being powered up, it is out of range, on the wrong channel, or the supervisor is no longer in deployment mode. All nodes should be powered near the supervisor and only move to their final location after they have joined the network. This ensures that the hardware is properly configured before departing from the supervisor. The factory-installed mounting bracket makes it easy to mount GeoNet devices onto a wall using bolts or screws, or onto a pole using hose clamps or U-bolts. Devices should be mounted vertically so that the antenna is pointing up. For optimum performance, GeoNet devices should be mounted as high off the ground as possible, with plenty of clear space around the antenna. A minimum mounting height of 6 feet is recommended. The direction of tilt for both axes of the tilt meter is shown by the diagram on the cover of the unit. Both axes of the tilt node have a range of plus or minus 90 degrees, based on a starting position of 0 degrees. To achieve the best linearity, mount the tilt meter so that the back of the enclosure is as close as possible to vertical, and the bottom of the enclosure is as close as possible to horizontal. Properly grounding GeoNet devices will lessen the chance of them being damaged by nearby lightning strikes or other large transient voltages. All GeoNet devices can be grounded by connecting a suitable earth ground to the mounting bracket. Cellular gateway supervisors and multi-channel nodes can also be grounded via the copper ground lug on the bottom of the enclosure. GEOKON recommends using a 6-foot copper grounding rod and 12 AUG or larger copper wire, both of which can be purchased from GEOKON. When installing nodes, start with those that will be mounted closest to the supervisor and then work outwards. Place the supervisor in the center of the network whenever possible. GeoNet devices can only communicate with other devices that are within range of their radio signal. Radio ranges vary by model and can be affected by the radio environment as well as nearby obstructions. Refer to the GeoNet instruction manual for complete radio specifications. Nodes can communicate with the supervisor over greater distances and work around obstacles by using other nodes as repeaters. Data is automatically relayed between the nodes as necessary to reach the supervisor. Each transmission from node to node or from a node to the supervisor is known as a hop. Up to 4 hops can be made between a node and the supervisor. GeoNet automatically minimizes the number of hops each node uses by bypassing nodes that are not needed as repeaters. Obstructions between, around, or near GeoNet devices can cause reflections of the radio signal. Reflected radio signals can cause GeoNet devices to malfunction. For optimum performance, create as much space as possible between the straight line radio path and any obstructions, especially metallic objects. Common mounting mistakes include not enough clear space around the antenna, mounting devices horizontally, or mounting the device near metallic objects. The photos shown are examples of improper device mounting. Depending on the model of node that has been purchased, external sensors are connected using either a bulkhead connector or bare leads. To connect sensors using bulkhead connectors, remove the cap of the connector on the node by rotating it counterclockwise. Align the grooves of the two connectors and then push them together. Twist the outer ring of the sensor connector clockwise until it locks into place. To connect sensors with bare leads, loosen the cable gland nut and remove the white plastic dowel. Next, slide the cable through the cable gland and the cable gland nut, and then into the interior of the node. Wire each conductor of the cable into the terminal block by pressing down on an orange tab, inserting the bare end of the conductor, and then releasing the orange tab. Cable conductors are wired as shown. Do not allow the bare portion of the leads to touch each other during or after wiring, as this may cause a short circuit. Trim long leads if necessary, to ensure there is no chance of a short. After wiring the conductors, gently pull on each one to make sure it is securely connected to the terminal block. Next, tighten the cable gland nut until it firmly grips the outer jacket of the cable. The cable gland nut must be properly tightened to prevent water entry. Avoid over-tightening the nut, which may damage the plastic threads of the cable gland. Lastly, gently pull on the sensor cable to make sure it is held in place by the cable gland. For ease of wiring, sensor cables should be inserted into the cable glands on multi-channel nodes in order from left to right and should be wired into the channels in sequence starting with channel 1. Wire sensors into the terminal blocks marked VW only. Do not wire sensors into the terminal blocks marked 485 in or 485 out. Multi-channel nodes and adjustable nodes will stop trying to read an empty channel after 2 attempts. When this happens, the node will check the channels at the top of every hour. An immediate retry can be initiated by resetting the node. Once a sensor is found, the channel will become active. Insert the supplied disk impacts into the node and then install the cover in a similar manner as with the supervisor. Record the serial number of the node and of the sensor the node will be reading. For multi-channel nodes, it is important to note the channel each sensor has been wired into. Complete the installation before commissioning the logger. Loggers are commissioned online using the GEOKON API portal. Open a web browser and navigate to api.geokon.com. For help using the API portal, watch the tutorial available on geokon.com. The hardware portion of the installation is now complete. For more information on installing and using GeoNet devices, refer to the agent software and GeoNet hardware instruction manuals, or check out the other GeoNet tutorials available at geokon.com.